by continuing to be major suppliers of rice, grains, pulses, vegetables, and seafoods. However, small farmers and producers, workers, fisherfolks, indigenous peoples continue to be deprived of access and control over land and productive resources on which they depend for livelihoods. At the same time, the increasing corporate control of the food industry has further compounded the situation of Asia's small farmers as they face difficulty in accessing services, credit, markets, weak extension services, and pricing policies that work against them. What lessons then can we draw from this pandemic? What are the imperatives in reframing our strategies and interventions in this so-called new normal? For one, we need to rebuild our immune system not only as individuals, but as collectively as a society. The world will continue to struggle against similar crises, but we must work together to ensure the best possible outcome for generations to come. We should build societies that our children would be eager to grow up in. There should be no return to the old normal. Instead, societies and communities need to recover and build back better. Second, the situation confirms our mantra that development frameworks must be transformed, recognizing the primacy of people and the environment. Access and control over land and natural resources should be in the hands of the small producers, and that sufficient government support ought to be in place to ensure they are able to stand stably produce adequate, safe, and nutritious food. We need to rethink our paradigm if we are to ensure food for all. It is not sufficient that states focus their attention solely on global and national value chains. As an overall food system strategy, governments need to provide the specific support and strengthening of local food systems and small food producers to ensure food for all. A fundamental working principle for building lasting food security is by reducing food kilometers, or reducing the distance to the extent possible between where the food is produced and where the food is consumed. This approach should ensure that the rights of small producers to land and resources. We should focus on developing local markets to which small producers have direct access and where they receive fair prices for their produce. Consequently, agrarian reform and land tenure security should be an integral part of national development strategies. Along with tenure security is the need for the diversified and sustainable agriculture anchored on smallholder farming. Sustained food sufficiency and development in Asia will only be achieved with more equitable land redistribution, together with support services, agroecological farming technologies, sustainable resource management, and community empowerment. Another needed change is that there should be a marked shift from industrial agriculture to community-based agroecological farming systems, which builds resiliency by using natural and local inputs. Agricultural systems likewise emphasize shorter supply chains and local territorial markets. Beyond food aid and economic recovery programs, the governance of agriculture and food systems should be restructured and transformed so that policies and programs directly respond to the needs of the poor. Government should shift priorities, increasing national budgets to address the impacts of the pandemics. Monitoring mechanisms with the participation of civil society and maintaining the independence of media should be established to ensure transparency of the delivery of such programs. CSOs must remain vigilant against state actors and business interests who use the pandemic to exert their control over land, forests, and natural resources. We will continue to monitor cases of land conflict, especially incidents of land grabbing where they occur. Communities and CSOs should counter growing misinformation, prejudice, and discrimination in our communities and on social media against people and individuals on the basis of their race, ethnicity, nationality, gender and sexuality, religion, caste, and social class. What immediate steps should then we need to do? Civil society organizations need to start collectively discussing and planning with communities for long-term yet flexible solutions to support recovery, strengthen preparedness, pursue food security and self-sufficiency, enhance tenure security, and promote sustainable socio-economic development for all. Civil society must also engage political and business groups towards formulating holistic, participatory, climate-resilient land use and development plans. At the global level, solidarity is needed to support the following calls: for a safe and effective COVID-19 people's vaccine that once developed should be widely produced and made universally accessible to all nations and people, free of charge and unhampered by intellectual property rights regime. We should join many nations and groups in the call for an immediate ceasefire in active armed conflicts in all parts of the world in order to focus on the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Stimulus packages are launched. We thus call for an urgent debt relief and debt cancellation of the poor developing countries, and especially those suffer from internal conflicts. For our part, ANGOC and Landwatch Asia campaign will continue to work within and beyond our network to facilitate exchanges of experiences, lessons, innovations, and evidence-based recommendations. We will continue with our efforts to campaign against land grabbing, intensify our monitoring of land conflicts, and to initiate the preparation of CSO reports on land-related targets on the SDGs. As a step forward, ANGOC shall relaunch our 200 Village Project, a regional food security initiative to generate solid and community-based information to assess food security at the household level. In closing, despite the challenges of today's time, there has been no shortage of civil society action, undeterred by logistical difficulties in many communities. This pandemic indeed invigorated the spirit of volunteerism, humanitarian work, and civic actions. These citizens' actions should be supported, guided, and sustained so that they become a truly transformative force in society. Thank you very much.
Mabuhay ang pamilyang magsasaka.